I turned out well. I'm always wanting to know what they mean, because one of the major things we don't realize is that low self-esteem is a major problem that a lot of us have. And whether we like it or not, our self-esteem is at the foundation of the choices we make, and the quality of the life we live is dependent on the choices we make. So I'll start with a bit of my personal story before I go into temperament and all of that. Temperament-wise, I'm predominantly phlegmatic. So if you understand a bit about temperament, you should understand who a phlegmatic. And low self-esteem was something I struggled with for a very long time. Now, one of the things that happens in low self-esteem is it influences the choices you make. And as girls, career choices, low self-esteem will rear its head. Choice of a spouse, low self-esteem will rear its head. In fact, last year in a certain community, we asked the issue of why you married the person you married and all of that. And it was just, something like, even though it really wasn't what I wanted, but hey, I felt that was what was good for me. That was the best I could get. And same thing happens to me. Low self-esteem. I remember if you read stories growing up, okay, a bit background of myself. Let me give you a story of my low self-esteem. I grew up with my grandma in the village. My grandma will always say that she always said before she died that I started living with her when I was 3 days, 3 months. So my mom will always ask her, how did she breastfeed me? So I know that 3 was in the picture because 3 was always reoccurring.
Oh, Coach Animian may have trouble with her network. Please, let's just give it a few minutes. I'm sure she's coming back. Oh, this is Nigeria. This is part of what we need to fix in this country. The network can be a thing. So I'm just going to put this out there. Let's continue, telling us where we're joining in from. I see Mary Omomi joining in from Oshun. Let me see who I had missed earlier. Fantastic. Yes, I saw Auntie Jimmy Achibade here. She's joining in from Lagos. Jennifer is joining from the UK. Fantastic. So I'm hearing something already. I was hearing Coach Animian say people's choice in marriage can be influenced by low self-esteem. Animian,
sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you for coming back.
All right. sorry, I don't know what happened. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Sorry, ma.
It's not a problem at all.
Background again. I grew up my grandma in the village, and I know I was given to her, or rather, she took me at a very tender age. I wasn't aware then. So along the line, when I was in my junior secondary school, I think JSS1, there was a particular event that my parents had to pull me out from the village. So I got to the city and I was not like a mismatch. I have 3 elder sisters who were about the same height and everything. So I remember one time somebody actually asked them, "Una be twins?" Twins from twins. They were together, and so I have 2 younger brothers, and I was not fitting into my older ones. Neither was I fitting into my younger ones. So I was just a different person entirely. I was just, I had no place. Plus the fact that I was a village girl, called a village girl, and then plus the fact that I have tooth discoloration. I don't have white set of teeth. So you can imagine everything just joined together. So, and again, with having a father, having a parents who were not allowed to mix with people much, everything was just inside the house. Inside the house, you stay inside the house from dawn till dusk. You go to school, you come back and stay inside the house. So it was just a lot for me. So everything was just against me. I had no voice. I had nothing. So when I got into the university, it affected the quality of life I lived, the friends I chose and everything. I remember back then, one of my consolations, the only thing that was my friend was books I was reading. And if you grew up in the should I say 90s or something, we read a lot of romance stories, right? And so I had a perfect picture in my head and of romance, of the kind of guy you wanted to marry, you wanted to date and things like that. But even when they came around, self-esteem was always an obstacle. Something like, what if I'm not good enough? What if he doesn't like me? What if his sister or brother doesn't like me? It was always playing a role. I'm just sharing a bit of my story. Now, my story is long. I don't want to spend the whole evening sharing my story. I also want to share a story of someone very close to me. Now, the when she was growing up, the mom being choleric, the mom is choleric, the father is phlegmatic. So the mom, they have just two girls, and both of them phlegmatic. They took after their father. The mom will always, choleric drivers will always pressure them. And one of her core tool for motivating her children was comparison. She will always compare them, see your mates, compare them, and all of that. These children grew up. Today, the second daughter, two of them, they are not in talking terms with their mom, like they don't have a relationship with their mom. One of them, she's had 4 kids, 4 daughters, and the only one of the daughters her mom had seen is the first child. That was because she had the first child when she was in Lagos, her mom was in Lagos, so she had the first child. So her mom had seen the first child. The other 3 children, guess what she did? She moved far away from family members, far away to a very distant state, that coming to Lagos or going to her hometown is not something she can just wake up and do. So recently, we kind of had a meeting, extended family, and everybody was like, we just concluded that this cousin of ours is abandoned the mom. What if she's going through domestic violence and things like that? Someone should check on her. And I checked on her. Guess what she said? She said she just wants to be away from everybody. She doesn't want anybody, she doesn't want to disturb anybody. No, that was not the issue. That is not really the issue why she just kind of isolated herself. Because she feels, because she was constantly compared while growing up, constantly compared. So she has grown to see everybody as better than her. People she knows, people she doesn't know, everybody is better than her. I remember when she was in the university, her friends couldn't visit her. She had a mindset that her friend lived better than her. Unfortunately for her, should I say unfortunately, she had friends who were very comfortable compared to her family, who kind of lived in the 2-bedroom apartment. She had friends who live in good areas in Lagos, and they were very comfortable. She never allowed her friends to visit her. She always felt inferior to them. And today she's in far away state. Nobody, apart from the first child we knew then, nobody has seen her 3 children, no relative there, nothing there. Nobody can check on her. So if, God forbid, something happens to her now, we have no way to trace her to that place because of what? Low self-esteem. Now, I am just trying to paint a picture for us to understand what low self-esteem can actually do to people. Like I said, it influences the choice we make. I remember back then when I was not like ready to get married, I had a couple of suitors. I was the mindset of, what if they don't like me? What if the family doesn't like me? That was what kept reoccurring, kept coming to me. I remember not too long ago, someone actually, I was having a conversation with someone who is ready to get married, and she actually repeated the same line. What if the sister doesn't like me? What if the family doesn't like me? And I asked her, what if you don't like them? Shouldn't it be if you don't like them? Does it have to be if they don't like you? Low self-esteem. My story with low self-esteem is very, very long, so I'll just cut it there and I'll go straight into talking about temperament and low self-esteem. If you are following me, please let me know you are following me. Let me know that someone is following me. I've not been talking to myself. Let me know someone has been following me and I've not been talking
Can we hear Coach
I'm just
Enimia?
talking about the effect of low
Yes.
self-esteem.
Okay.
If we make temperament and low, in how that person either turns out or how that person interprets what happens to them. Many times it is not really about what happens to a person. It is about how the person interprets the events. Now, this is where we see some people, when things happen, I actually have a slide to share. This is where we see some people, when things happen to them, when things happen to some people, they say they take lemons and make lemonade. They take the lemons life throw at them and make lemonades out of it. Temperament is a function, has a role to play. Why some people, when life throws lemon at them, they just relax. What happens is your temperament has a role to play. And I don't want to assume everybody knows what temperament is, so I'll just do a quick rundown of what temperament is. Temperament is a person's innate wiring, how a person is innate wiring, generally, how a person is naturally. It refers to the innate traits and characteristics that shape how a child responds to events that happen to the child. Temperament is why you see two children, for example, learning to walk. One falls and then he stands up and he keeps walking immediately, and then he walks quickly. The other one falls and remains there till maybe the following day. Before he will remain there, he will not attempt to walk again till maybe a long time, till the following day or so. That's temperament. Temperament explains why two of my uncles, I always refer to them, born by the same mother and father, raised in the same environment, they turned out to be so different. While one of them is such a very lively person and generous, the other one is someone who has to question everything around and doesn't readily flow. That's temperament. Now let's look at self-esteem. Self-esteem simply means how an individual perceives, your perception, how you see yourself, how you see your strengths, how you see your weaknesses, your beliefs, your emotions, your attitude, your ability, your own appearance, and everything. That is your self-esteem, how you see everything that happens to you, how you perceive them. That is your self-esteem. Now, self-esteem is shaped by different factors, and what we are looking at today is temperament. Because one of the things I always say is it is important that every parent understands their children's temperament to know how to nurture them. It's not enough for you to just conclude that, oh, every child is the same. It's not enough for you to have the same structure. I'm always quick to share this thing. I have this particular thing. I have three children, for example. If with my daughter, my no is ready. If I need to give her a no, it has to be a no. But with my son, if I give him a no, I actually want him to come back and negotiate. I want him to come back and use his words. I want him to be persistent. I want to stretch him, because he's someone that will just sit back and say, I know mommy is going to say no. So I know mommy is going to say no. Because of that, he may not even come forward to ask, no matter how much he wants that in. But my daughter, even when she knows that you are going to say no, she will tell herself, let me try. Let me try. The worst that can happen is I'll get a no. Even when I get a no, I will try. I will still go back and explain why it has to be that thing. So that is what I mean by every child is not the same, and approaches to dealing with children should really not just be the same. There is no one cap fit all when it comes to parenting. You need to understand your child's temperament, your child's innate wiring, their innate abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. And this will determine how they will perceive what you are doing, your parenting choices and your parenting styles. Okay, how do I go back to, sorry, okay. I think I know what to do. Okay, so I've talked about what can happen. I've used my story to share the effect of low self-esteem, and I've talked about your child's temperament. And so what I want to talk about now is specific temperament and how low self-esteem can come in. Now we have 4 major temperaments. You know that: choleric, sanguine, melancholic, and phlegmatic. Now, one of the things that actually happens to human beings is we feel one of the things that causes low self-esteem for humans generally is when we feel unloved, when we feel unwanted, when we feel unaccepted, is one thing that causes low self-esteem for people generally. Now, every single child, depending on their temperament, actually has a way of feeling they are loved, they are wanted, they are accepted. They have a way you treat them, they will understand, they will feel they are loved. There are ways you will treat them, they will feel they are not loved. That is one thing we need to understand when it comes to self-esteem. Once a child feels unloved, unwanted, when you feel unloved, you feel unwanted. When you feel unwanted, you feel, is something wrong with me? I'm not good enough. You just have that negative thoughts that actually go a long way to hurt a person's self-esteem. So let's look at these 4 individuals and their major needs and how to actually show love to them. Now, the first person is choleric. Choleric people, they are the strong-willed people. They are the strong-willed children who parents always have issues with when they are children. One of the things I always say is that every weakness is a strength in some ways. Every weakness is a strength. Depending on how you are looking at it. For example, we have a choleric who is a strong-willed. When it comes to this choleric child not being on the same page with the parents or not being compliant, we see them as misbehaving. It becomes a weakness. But when we see that strong will of the choleric child, using it to stand up against bullies, using it to actually fight for a good cause, that same strong will, we now see it as a strength. That is what happens in weaknesses and strength. Every weakness has its own strengths. Every weakness has its own advantages and disadvantages, depending on how we are looking at it. So let's go into the choleric. So their major need is power. You see them, the major need of a choleric child is power. They want to be in charge. They want to be boss. And of course, you know, a person who naturally wants to be in charge would not want to be disrespected. They want you to acknowledge them. That is it. So the major need of a choleric child is acknowledgement. For you to acknowledge them, for you to actually acknowledge their power and give them a bit of independence. Now, one would expect that the choleric child, as strong-willed as they are, as self-confident as they are not going to have any issues with low self-esteem. No, they'll also have issues with low self-esteem. Why would they have issues with low self-esteem? Like I said, their major need is acknowledgement. When you constantly criticize them, they are strong-willed, number one. They are very independent. They are very dependable. That's the word I'm looking for. So as a parent, when you don't trust them, they are dependable. All you need to do is just guide them right, and they are dependable. Now, when you don't trust them, naturally, they feel, okay, maybe they are not good. That can actually hurt their self-esteem when you do not trust the choleric child and when you are constantly criticizing them. Now, this is why one of the ways they actually react, they actually express their low self-esteem is by going out to bully others. A typical choleric child will express their low self-esteem by going out to bully others. That's number one. Number two, in overconfidence. Typical ways they express their low self-esteem. It's not as if, when I mean overconfidence, it's as if they want to prove, they will not know where to stop, like desperation. I'm trying to look for the right word to use. They will not know when to stop, because they want to prove to you that they are dependable, that they are independent, that they can do it. They want to prove to you. So because of that, because their self-esteem is hurt, and they want to prove to you that they can actually give themselves over, set goals they cannot readily meet is one of the ways they, like I said, bullying others. You bully them, you make them feel they are not good enough. They actually want to take it out on other people. Do the same thing to them. One way they show it, bullying others, and another way is by being desperate, being overconfident, not knowing when to stop. So the major need of a choleric child, the major reason a choleric child will suffer low self-esteem is one, when you are always criticizing them. Number two, they're already dependable. We know that when you now how do I put it? When you over expect from them, when you over expect from them, you are stretching them. Because one of the things that happens in parenting is, because we actually want to raise high achievers, we tend to set high expectations for our children. But one of the things we don't realize is, if the expectation is too high for the child, if the child is struggling to meet that expectations you have set, it is not doing the child any good. Because one of the things that actually build self-confidence is when you succeed at something. Hello? When you succeed at a particular thing, a particular task, you succeed at it, you know how you feel good about yourself. You feel good, it boosts your self-confidence. But when you don't succeed, no matter who you are, at that point, no matter how resilient you are, when you don't succeed or when you are struggling too much, you are going to feel hurt, you are going to feel broken. And if it's a continuous thing, it's like an everyday thing, it simply means that the negative energy keeps releasing. And before you know what is happening, it becomes a part of the child. So that is what happens when it comes to the choleric child. Because they are dependable, you over expect from them. You stretch them beyond their capacity. You stretch them beyond their capacity. They cannot meet it. Because they cannot meet it, that actually hurts their self-esteem. And another thing about them and their self-esteem is, like I said, they want you to recognize them. Just validate them, recognize them. They are dependable. Don't come with criticism all the time. Validate them. They have done something. Acknowledge what they have done. It goes a long way to help them. So when you have a child who is choleric, you don't ever tell him well done or good one or nice job or nice try. Hey, it's as if the child is not, because one of their love languages is words of acknowledgement. That is choleric. It's not necessarily words of love or something like that. Just acknowledge them, because I said they love power. So they love to be recognized. They love to be acknowledged. So one way to actually boost their self-esteem is to acknowledge them. Now, another thing parents of choleric children want to not do is don't compare them to others. Don't compare your choleric child to others. When you compare them to others, it angers them. It angers them. It brings a very... Sorry, I'm trying to fix this thing. It makes them competitive. It brings that competition in them, So don't compare your choleric child. And of course, bullying and rejection. The choleric child, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be recognized. So don't subject them to bullying. I'm just trying to summarize. At the end of the class, I'm going to give Coach Irene Bangwell a kind of worksheet. Is it a worksheet or template on building your child's temperament, self-esteem generally? And so she can just to give any. Okay, so let's go to the next temperament. Is the sanguine child. Now, let's look at the sanguine child. Generally, these are the happy people. This is the younger of my uncles, the second one. Very happy people, very lively people, people's people. What they want all the time is to be with people. What they want all the time is to have fun. One of the ways they actually feel love is you give them attention, because they want to be the spotlight. They call them life of the party, something like that. They actually always want to be on the spotlight. That is the sanguine for you. Now, someone whose needs is attention, whose needs is to be on the spotlight, whose need is always to be seen, who wants to always be with people, what do you think can actually hurt their self-esteem when these needs are denied? And one way is rejection. One way is to reject them, to exclude them. Now, this is why I tell parents, I see this happen in schools a lot because I teach in schools like that. You have some parents, you register your child in a school that you cannot readily afford. Then when they are doing different programs in school, they are doing inter-house sports, they are doing an excursion, they are doing parties or something, end of year celebrations, you tell the school to exempt your child because you cannot pay. I always say to parents, no, instead of you to exempt your child from those activities in school, please put your child in a school that you can pay for all the activities. There are always good schools that you can easily meet because you don't understand the impact of these things. Again, you can have 4, 5 children. Some children, they will not take it as a big deal. The sanguine child will take it as a big deal, especially because they like to be the center of attention. Now, imagine the child comes to school and everybody is sharing what happened at a particular event. They don't have anything to share. They are going to feel excluded. So it is going to impact them because their major need is to be around people. That is their major needs. So I just thought to share that. So one of the things that actually hold the sanguine child self-esteem is, again, rejection, exclusion. Another thing that hold them is comparison, like this choleric child. There is no child that doesn't feel hurt when you compare them. Comparison, because I said their major, their need is to be seen, is to be heard, is to be loved, is to be on the spotlight. Now imagine if their need, they desire to be the best among others. They desire to be the coolest person. When I say best, it's not like a competition, but they just desire to be the coolest amongst other people. Imagine that, and you are now comparing them constantly with other people when they are supposed to be the coolest. When they are supposed to be the coolest, you are comparing them. What do you think will happen? Their self-esteem will greatly be hurt. So one of the ways parents hurt sanguine self-esteem is by comparing them with others. These people are also, they are not stable emotionally. So criticism, constant criticism. Now, the typical sanguine has a resilience. You know them, they are very resilient people. They are the kind of people that 1 minute something happens, they are down, and the very next minute you see them is a different ball game, and you are wondering, is it the same person that was crying and feeling depressed a while ago? Is it the same person? They have that strength to quickly bounce back, which is, they have that capacity to easily bounce back, which is resilience. However, constant criticism will always hurt their self-esteem. And guess what? The typical sanguine child is the one that is likely to be most criticized by parents. You know why? Because of their nature. They are very active. I don't want to just say active. They are hyperactive, and they are impulsive, hyperactivity, impulsivity, highly distracted. They don't pay attention to details. Just look at all about them. They are very active. They don't pay attention to details. They are easily distracted. They are very impulsive. Just look at all of them and put them together. What do you think will happen? It means they will get into trouble 1,000,001 times in a split second. And so if the parents are parents, if, for example, a sanguine child has a melancholic parent who things get so easily, that sanguine child is going to be in trouble, because the sanguine child will always get on the nerves of the melancholic parents, and criticism will be on the rise. If they also have a choleric parent, it's the same thing. Criticism will be on the rise, and constant criticism look at it now. It simply means that the child is not good enough. A child actually wants to always be cool, because sanguine child, they are lovers. They love people, really. They want to please you. That is the truth. They want to please. They want to be the cool person. So they will not deliberately offend their parents or anything. However, why they offend a parent or why they misbehave is because of their nature, easily distracted, high energy level, impulsive, things like that. We make them run instead of sit down. We make them impulse will always come in the way. So when you want to teach them self-discipline, for example, you have to double your teaching. If you have a sanguine child and a melancholic child, you may not struggle with your melancholic child as much as you struggle with your sanguine child. Because of that, you always want to criticize, because they will always do things that will make you criticize. So that constant criticism, we keep telling them that you are not good enough, you can't do anything right, and that hurts the sanguine's self-esteem. Another thing that hurts their self-esteem is the fact that they love to be cool again, like I said. So they want you to recognize them. Words of affirmation is also their love language. It seems they are the ones that actually all the love languages are for them. All the love languages are for them. They love words of affirmation, your compliments, you are good to go, you are good. They just love these things. Now, I always say that to parents, that the worst betrayal you can actually give to your child is to use their love language against them, because it is something, is a way they feel they are loved. That is the way, like your choleric child, for example, they want you to recognize them. They want you to acknowledge them. That is how they will know that, because they want power. When you acknowledge them, they will know that, this person actually is understands me. This person cares about me. Now, you using their love language against them is one way we can betray, really hurt them deeply. So the sanguine child, they like you to recognize them, praise them, acknowledge them. Also, by acknowledge them, just their little efforts, acknowledge them, see them. They want you to see them all the time. So now you not doing that is one way they can begin to feel for themselves, okay, is it that I'm not good enough? Is it that there's something wrong with me or something? That's for the sanguine child. Another thing about the sanguine child is, for every child is constantly rubbing their underachievement on their face is a no-no. For any child of any temperament, it makes them feel that they are not good enough generally. Okay, let me go to the third one, which is the phlegmatic child. The phlegmatic child. Now, this is where I belong. Even though I've run a couple of tests and I keep seeing that I'm phlegmatic and choleric, I know that my phlegmatic, the choleric part of me, except I deliberately, I'm just planning now to nurture it, so that, because I need it to actually realize, I need it to be where I want to be, really. So I'm thinking, creating a structure, a system for myself to nurture it. Otherwise, the phlegmatic in me, especially because of the way I've been raised and a lot of factors around my upbringing and all of that, contributed into making my phlegmatic dominant. The phlegmatic part of me dominant. For example, people think, oh, because I talk, I can talk. Oh, I talk. I can talk non-stop. So people think that because I talk a lot, I'm outgoing. Nah, I do not socialize much. And looking back, I was a couple of days ago, months ago, in a far distant time, I was talking to a friend of mine, trying to reflect on my life and everything. I actually realized why I don't socialize a great deal is, again, the issue of low self-esteem, always feeling, there was one I didn't add, and growing up, I was also very skinny. So being skinny and everything just combined together, I always feel, I'm not good for this. If I go there, people will laugh, or just, I'm not sure what I was thinking, but because of that, I never really socialized. Even now that I know that I need networking to be where I want to be, I'm still struggling to socialize. So people will always think that because I do a lot of talking, I should socialize a lot. Nah, I don't. Okay, so I was saying that partly I am phlegmatic and I want to nurture the choleric in me. So let's look at the phlegmatic child. You know, the phlegmatic child, they are the calm, they are the very peaceful people. They are calm and they are peaceful generally. They are the ones that they don't like trouble. They don't like to fight. For children, you see them in class, you see them, they are made to be teasing them. They just don't have the strength to go and fight back. Sometimes the teacher will wonder, can't you fight back? Can't you talk? Come and talk, even come and report. They will just sit back and you are wondering, you know, the typical phlegmatic child, they are really very good children. They are always good children. The kind of children that obey, especially when they are younger, they obey a great deal. Now, the problem always is, the challenge always is when they are growing up, when they become teenagers. The challenge is always when they become teenagers. And because when they are small, they don't have they don't rebel like that. So when they become teenagers, they still want to stay in their comfort zone. They kind of don't have internal motivation. It is always a problem, it's a challenge for parents. Now, this is why I say, when you understand your child's temperament from small, you know how to get the child started. You know how to get the child started early, so that when you are trying to help them learn some things, those things you are trying to help them learn from small soon become their second nature as they grow into teenagehood. Otherwise, you see them as teenagers, they are laid back, they are not motivated, you are wondering, and they are not starters too, where many parents get this wrong. They are not starters. Parents don't realize they are not starters. So they are not the ones you motivate verbally. You don't motivate them verbally, just like you motivate the choleric child, for example. You don't motivate them verbally, you know. Even peer mentorship self doesn't motivate them like that. Okay, so let's go into phlegmatic and causes for their low self-esteem. One of them is perceived lack of accomplishments. That is it. Phlegmatic children may have the tendency to be more laid back and less motivated by external achievements. However, if they perceive themselves as lacking accomplishments or failing behind their peers, it can contribute to a feeling of inadequacy and low self-esteem in them. When they are not where they actually want to be, they feel they have low self-esteem. You know, they are laid back, yes. They are not drivers, yes. But not with every child, for example, when they are, let's look at award giving days in school or star charts in school. When they look at their star chart, they see that, oh, their friends are having 20, 25, 30 stars on their star chart, and they don't have, or they have one or two. It's going to affect them. And one of the things that happen is they do not have this, they are too relaxed. Now, because they are too relaxed, they don't drive themselves to actually achieve that which they want to achieve. The best way for me to explain is, a typical phlegmatic child or a phlegmatic person likes good life. They like good life. They want to wear the finest clothes, shop in the finest boutique, live a good life. They like it. But they can easily not pressure themselves. They can easily not do the extra thing to give them the good life, except they have a major why, a major motivation to pursue the good life. Now, one of the things about them is they are not starters. If they have the platform to build upon to pursue the good life, yes, they'll build upon the platform, and because they are good finishers, they'll build upon the platform, they'll get a good life and they'll enjoy it. But if they don't have that, they are just going to relax in their not so good life, in the life that actually they don't desire. They are going to relax there. So now this is why what parents need to do is to motivate them a great deal from small. Motivate them internally so that they are actually perform, rather they have accomplishments that they can be proud of. That will boost their self-esteem. If they keep falling short, which they are likely going to keep falling short because they don't have the zeal. If you don't push them, they'll keep falling short, and that will affect their self-esteem a great deal. Another thing that affects their self-esteem again is comparison. Now, one of the things that affect everybody self-esteem is comparison. Whether you as an individual comparing yourself to someone else or your parents comparing you, comparison affects a great deal. So as much as possible, I always tell parents, do not compare your children. One of the things that actually worked against my self-esteem, apart from all the other factors, was comparison. I grew up with my parents constantly comparing us, and we don't understand the effect of comparison. If we do, we'll see how we can stop it, because the society already places a standard that have our children comparing themselves. For example, in school, there's a benchmark. For example, if you get this, you're an A student and all of that. Children falling behind, they're already comparing themselves to other children, already feeling that they are not good enough. Then they still come home, parents will still constantly compare them, So comparison is one of the major killers of self-esteem. And it doesn't just stop at self-esteem. I remember my parents had someone, my dad especially, there was a family that every single thing were never good enough. It was all their family. They were this, they were that all the time. At first, I was admiring them. I remember that I was in my senior secondary school. Then one of the daughters was I in my senior secondary school? I finished secondary school. I think I was in my senior secondary school. One of the daughters, I kind of made friends with her. I would ask where did she get her earrings from? Where did she get this from? Because I was admiring her. That was the first level. That was the first level, the constant comparison pushed me to admiration for her. But after a while, from admiration, it went into like envy. From envy, it went into hatred, like absolute hatred. Like, if I had maybe something, if I could beat them up, I will beat them up. From hatred, it went into inferiority complex. And what happens when your child has inferiority complex is not just that it's not just towards that particular thing. It rubs off on every other thing. So every time they see someone, they start feeling inferior to them. Every time they see other people who they feel has a bit of more advantage, they start feeling inferior to them. Instead of these people to inspire them, these people further demoralizes them. So comparison is never, ever a way to motivate your child. So I was talking about the phlegmatic child, comparing them. Another one is excessive criticism. And the truth of the matter is, especially when these children are becoming teenagers, they will always force you because they are not motivated. They kind of laid back. So parents are forced to always criticize, to always compare, because you just want them to take initiative. They will not take initiative. So parents are angry. Why are you not taking initiative? Why are you not doing this? Constant criticism is one of the things that actually hurts your phlegmatic child's self-esteem. Lack of recognition and validation is another thing. You don't recognize the little things they do. In my YouTube channel, I have a challenge we do every week. Every weekend, we do one challenge. We started with no threat challenge. Then we started with the positive trait challenge. This week is pause and breathe. So the positive trait challenge was designed to help us see the good in our children. It's a week-long challenge. This challenge, every day, see one good thing in your child. If you can choose to, hello, ma'am. If you can choose to, yes, ma'am. Okay, let me just wrap up quickly. So if you can choose to see 3 good things, morning, afternoon,
I wasn't
evening,
the one talking.
because
I wasn't the one talking.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. So if we can learn to focus on the good in our children, they have good things in them, but in them rather, we don't learn to focus in them. We actually always focus on the negative. I know this child is always laid back, we forget the fact that they are peaceful. We don't compliment that. We forget the fact that we tell them to do things, they are compliant. We don't compliment that. We forget the fact that they don't pressure us, give us unnecessary pressure. We will not compliment that. We forget the fact that, okay, they scored 60 in school, they scored 61. We don't compliment that. I say to parents that, see, if you every single thing you complain about your child, for example, you get back from work and your house is messy and you are complaining about it, you did not fix your room and all of that. The day you come back from work and your room is feast, please compliment your child. It simply means that is a behavior you are concerned about. If the room is messy today, like your child ate and they don't clear the table, you got angry and you are yelling, you are nagging and you are doing all those drama, is when your child actually finishes eating and clears the table, compliment him for that. Because if it was the other way around, you will react to it. So constant criticism gets to anyone. The child just feels that he's not good enough. And guess what? They are dependable, yes, but like I said, they don't take initiative because they enjoy their comfort, so they just want to relax. So because of that, parents will always want to, and they actually want to please you. And one of the things about them is that they can procrastinate. We know that that's because they just enjoy their comfort zone. When I stand up, I will do it. When I stand up, I'll do it. Because of that, maybe it's the 11th hour when they realize, oh, mommy is opening the gate, or mommy is honey, and the car is honky. That is when they will now stand up and they start rushing to get things done. And you come in, you catch them, and you start the criticism. So please minimize the criticism. It affects them a great deal. It affects them. And one of the major things we actually need for our children to succeed is self-esteem. Healthy self-esteem. I always say this to parents. One of the major tools, major skills, major strengths we need to build in our children is healthy self-esteem. They need it to succeed in life. Self-esteem we help them the path they are going to take in life. Like there will be, health, self-esteem and self-confidence. You cannot really separate them. So they need that self-confidence to pursue the path they want to pursue, believe in themselves, and fulfill their God's-given purpose. They need it to make right choices that they will not regret in life. I don't know if you have been following up on this gender identity disorder and transgender drama. I've been listening to them and reading them up lately, and I just was telling my husband that, you see, this thing, one of the major foundation for these choices people are making is low self-esteem. Low self-esteem. Just try and follow them up. Look at the background. You will see because they did not believe in themselves. They felt confused. They did not believe in themselves. Like, they didn't like themselves. They didn't feel, how do I put it? They had a different perception about themselves. What they are not supposed to see, they were seeing it. Maybe like one I was listening to, she was comparing herself to all the other girls. She didn't feel feminine enough. She didn't have she wasn't busty. She just, her voice was a bit deep and all of that. She didn't feel feminine enough in her skin. That was how she attempted to transition to the other gender, and then she got stuck halfway. Now she's been operated upon. She cannot come back. She cannot go back, and all of that. I was just telling my husband that what if someone had told her that, hey, you are good the way you are. You are not created. You are created for a purpose that you are a total package for. What if someone had told her, see Michelle Obama, for example, she has a deep voice. Yes. And there was a time they were dragging her up and down. They were showing her wearing sleeveless. She has muscles like a man. What if someone had told her something like that? Maybe that would have helped her a great deal, but nobody told her. Instead, her friends say, yes, I think you have gender identity disorder. You are a woman trapped in you are a man trapped in a woman's body. Operation is it? And she told her parents said, what do we do about the operation? Is it? Things like that. So low self-esteem is at the foundation of the choices we make as human beings. So if you are parenting with a vision, you actually have a big picture for your child. Know that your child needs a healthy dose of healthy self-esteem to actually achieve whatever they want to achieve in life. Self-esteem, self-confidence. Okay, so still talking about phlegmatic. The other one is bullying and peer rejection. Yes, it hurts everyone when your phlegmatic child keep being bullied. They keep picking on your phlegmatic child. He or she feels weak already. And guess what happens? Parents also bully their children. We don't realize it. You are also bully your children. When your children when they don't matter to you, when they are not, their voices are not important, when you are always forcing them against their will, we always feel that we know best. Yes, which is true. We know better. After all, Shebi is Africa proverb that said that when an old man sits down, the baby cannot see, climb the tree, cannot see where the old man is seeing. Yes. But however, there's the way we always carry our children along, that they will understand we actually mean well for them. There's the way we carry them along, that we don't necessarily have to impose our will on them at the end of the day. So bullying and peer rejection is one thing that also works against the self-esteem of the phlegmatic child. And as parents, like I say, we also bully our children. So we should learn to do better. Now, the last temperament is the melancholic temperament. These ones, they are the ones that naturally suffer low self-esteem. And one of the major reasons is, and I'll also talk about how parents help it. One of the major reasons is because they are perfectionists by nature. Now, they want things to be done. Now, when I keep saying that every child is not the same, you have some children who, by nature, they follow routine. They are structured children. You don't even need to create a routine for them. They just follow routine. So when you see someone talking about certain things or bragging about what they have achieved with their children within a specific space, please go back and ask yourself, your child and the person's child or children, are they of the same temperament? Don't ever compare your sanguine child to another person's melancholic temperament. No, they are two different children. For example, except the sanguine child is gifted, they will struggle to spell. Why? Because they are naturally not attentive to details. They are naturally not attentive to details. So because of that, spelling will be a struggle for them. Now let's look at the melancholic child. These children are naturally attentive to details. So they tend to have, except maybe they are not so naturally, or by gene, they are not so academically smart or something. These children, they are always smarter academically than other children, except by gene. Like I said, genetics, they are not so smart, They tend to have this, is it magnetic? They call it magnetic brain, because they are naturally attentive to details. So they just catch it, and it's easy for them to remember because they have a way of paying attention to details. But the melancholic child, the sanguine child, they don't pay attention to details. So give them math to solve. They are going to forget step 1, step 2, step 3. Remember, they are also easily distracted. They are very impulsive. So all those will come into play. So I was saying that you don't ever compare your child. You don't ever use the same standard. Someone else is talking about what he or she has achieved with his or her child. Please understand your child's temperament and create your structure to actually capture your child's temperament. Otherwise, you are going to be frustrated, and you are going to be talking about the criticism again, talking about the comparison. You are going to be frustrated. You are going to be comparing your child, be criticizing, and you are now going to be raising a child with low self-esteem. Now, remember, at the end of the day, healthy self-esteem is what your child needs most to succeed. Okay, let's go into melancholic children. I was saying that they tend to be perfectionists. They are very perfectionist. They have a standard. They have ways they want things to be done. When I remember when I was when I was still going to school a great deal, I always meet this set of children. They will write handwriting, maybe Nelson handwriting on the board. You will see them. They will be coming forward to get eraser, to clean it and start again. They just want to get it with that flick the teacher did. They want to get it. If they don't get it right, they will not rest. They just have a way of doing things. I remember when I was in my youth service, I had a neighbor then, Moses. I don't forget his name. He will iron everything. He will iron his every single thing. His cotton, his bedsheet, his undergarments, his singlets, every single thing. He will always have them neat. his own was to the extreme. So melancholic children, they always want to be perfectionists. Now here is one of the ways again parents help them develop low self-esteem, because first of all, there is nothing like perfection. We all know it's an illusion, is not a part, or is not realistic perfection. Now these children who are already perfectionists, when as a parent you constantly see their mistake, one of the things you can do for your melancholic child as a parent is to help them normalize mistake, is to help them see that mistake is a major part of life. Mistake is not an end, is a curve. Mistake is not an end, is a part of the journey. That is one of the things you can help your melancholic child see, understand. Mistake is a must, is a part of the journey, you know. But when parents don't see that, parents will keep criticizing them for their mistake. It simply means that the fact that they will never even achieve perfection in their life is something that is even enough for them to, is enough to demoralize them, to cause them low self-esteem. They are not good enough. They are not meeting the standard they have set for themselves. Now, parents will now further add to it by expecting them to be perfect. So it is a lot for them. It is a lot for them. Desire to be perfect is something that works against the melancholic child. Perfectionism. So what parents can do, I have shared it already, is to make sure you normalize mistakes. Normalize mistakes. In fact, make it a habit not to flinch when your child makes a mistake. No matter the kind of mistake your child makes, do not should I say bat an eyelid. Don't react to it. Discipline yourself that your child has made a mistake. You are not reacting to it. If you have a melancholic child, you are not reacting to it. When everything has, I always say it's not an emergency. When everything has settled down, you cannot talk to your child about it. What they can learn from the mistake, what they can learn from the events of life. Because one of the things I've come to realize in life is that it is not the thing that actually happens to people. It's not the event that happens. It is the way we interpret the event. Now, this is why something happens, everybody has different perception of it. So one of the things I'm doing for my children deliberately is to help them to see beauty in everything that happens to them, every single thing. So when they share lesson with me, when they share their experience with me, okay, something happened in school, this happened, that happened, I empathize with them. And after that, like I remember a couple of months ago, it should be about up to a month now, more than, my daughter came back from class. She was telling me that she was in the ICT lab and she had finished typing she had finished doing her assignments, and then their light just went off. So she did not save and everything just went off. Now she had enough time to have saved, but somebody asked her a question. Instead of her to save, she was answering the person, she was putting the person through on his work. And that was when the light went off and her work her work just disappeared because she did not save. So when she shared it with me, the first thing I did was to like tell her, it can be very painful. I really understand it. I felt for her. I've been there before. In fact, somehow I'm always there. I'll always almost never remember to save. And then sometimes I start looking for, I just saved without paying attention to the name. Then I start looking for it all over. I won't even know the location. I won't know the name and all of that. I shared with her. Then I asked her, okay, what lesson did you learn from it now? What lesson? And she told me, okay, the lesson she learned from it is that she's going to tell her HM to get a UPS so that they have a UPS is no longer, is weak. Get new UPS so that their systems can be backed up, and even when light goes, they can have their work saved. I told her, okay, that's fine. Yes, you can do that. That's a very fantastic idea. However, that is not within your control. We always have two options, the one within your control and the one that is not within your control. So this particular one is not within your control. So what are you going to do? So you are going to look for the option that is within your control, which will be, so we wrapped our brains and we came up with, okay, it simply means that as soon as you start your system, save it. Save it. As soon as you start your work, save. And at quick intervals, just tap on the save button and we are good to go. So I always want, instead of her to sit back and be brooding over the fact that she lost her work that she did, I want her to look at the lessons she has learned from it and move on with the lesson. So I'm always trying to teach my children that, you see, every single time life throws something at you, there's a lesson for you to learn. Yes, you are a human being, you are going to feel bad, but after feeling bad, just don't sit back and be feeling bad, because it's not going to change anything. So look at the lessons you're learning from it and see what you can do, and you can build upon the lesson. I won't tell them, some people, they sell their lessons, they monetize their lessons. Some people, they make their lessons, their brick, their foundation, which they build upon. And then some, they just relax, they become victims. They talk about the events for the rest of their life. They're not going to move past there. So for your melancholic child, normalize mistakes, and teach them to look for lessons in their mistakes, because they will always make mistakes in life. Okay, so normalize mistakes for your melancholic child. The next one is, they are very self-critical by nature. They are very self-critical by nature. The same thing we are talking about, they are perfectionists. You know, they are always looking at the errors. They are not good enough. They made a mistake. Like in school, you will see them, just one mistake like this. They are very self-critical, and they judge themselves a great deal. The same way they judge other people, you know, they judge themselves, they judge other people. So one of the things you want to use for your melancholic child is to help them see the good in them, constantly. Help them focus on their positive side. If you don't do that, they will always focus on their negative side. It's just the way they are. They are attentive to details, and that their attentiveness to details they will not be paying attention to the good side. It's the negative side they keep paying attention to. That is why they easily get depressed. Now, this is why when something happens to the melancholic child, they are always, they tend to internalize more than any other child. They tend to blame themselves more than any other person. Now, this is why they are not the ones that we easily or readily make lemons out of lemonades. They will blame themselves. So no. So again, for parents, normalize mistakes, and again for parents, help them always see the good in them. This is why I tell parents to parent with a vision. Understand the times we are, exactly the times we are, and begin to build your child. Begin to understand the times we are, and begin to raise them to like counter that time we are. Begin to be that voice in their head that will counter the time we are, the times we are. I listened to Coach Arimbangwe's talk about LGTB, and he said something that silence is not a strategy, that the word is a chatterbox. I've not stopped talking about that since the day I listened to it. I've not stopped talking about the word is a chatterbox. Even to my parents, the word is a chatterbox. The word is a chatterbox. You need to, because prior to that day, I always tell them that, you see, the word is always talking. So you need to multiply your voices and amplify your voice. You need to, multiply your voice and amplify your voice. I always tell them that. So when I just heard that, I say, yes, this actually captures it. The word is always talking. The word is always telling them their bad side. Oh, their booktons are not big enough. Their breasts not big enough. Their stomach is big. They have a Christian mother hand. The word is constantly telling them that, oh, there is somebody who has a first class. You don't have a first class. Someone can, I don't know, the person is richer, that's why the person has the more advantage. The person is finer, that's why this person has more advantage. The word is always painting these pictures, always telling them those things. What do you want to do as a parent? What I do, because my daughter is predominantly melancholic, what I do to her is every single time I let her know that, you see, even in my morning prayers to her, when I wake up in the morning and I go to their room and I'm praying for them, I let her know, I tell God that this girl, she's a total package. A girl you have created for your signs and wonders, from your head to your toe, you have created her for the purpose, because that's what I tell them. I always tell them that, you see, everyone is a total package. You are a total package. I will tell them, for example, if you buy an iPhone and you have a Samsung, you open it, If you buy an iPhone, you open it, you're going to see an iPhone inside. It's a total package. You're not going to see a Samsung inside. The pack of an iPhone is designed to hold that iPhone. You know, the bag of a rice, for example, is designed to be able to carry the rice. So you are a total package. God has designed you to be able to carry the thing, the purpose which he created you for. He didn't just create you for an error. And I always say to them that, you see, if you are short, it simply means that the purpose God created you for, you need to be short to be able to achieve that purpose. If you are tall, it means that the purpose God created you for, you need to be tall to be able to achieve that purpose. I always say to them that no matter what you are, no matter how you think you look, the purpose God created you for, you are just fit for that purpose. So always your melancholic child, they are so self-critical by nature. They will see the things that are not good in them and forget the ones that are good in them. So you always need to let them, help them focus their attentions on the things that are good in them. The things that are good in them. Let them see it. Let that be what you should talk about, what you should celebrate, rather than the ones that they are shortfalls and all of that. You know, that is that about the melancholic. So fear of failure is another thing. Fear of failure. Remember, I said they are perfectionists. So fear of failure is another thing that once they fail, like they make a mistake, they have failed. It is going to hurt them for a very, very long time. A very, very long time. That one mistake they have made is going to follow them. There are people that make a mistake. They wake up from it. So what? Some people will say, now this one I do, I know keep person. I keep person. There are people that even wear their mistake with pride. That is not so with the melancholic child. Their mistakes, they get embarrassed. They don't want to move beyond their mistake. No, so this is why as parents, we need again to normalize mistakes for them. We need to normalize mistakes. We need to let them know that failure is not an end. There is even nothing like failure. I tell my children that there is nothing like failure. You only fail when you give up completely. You fail when you give up completely. And we look at people who struggled. You struggle like you staggered. You stand back on your feet and you are good to go. You know, is that moment is staggering. It's a moment for you to go and replan, to think of your life, to plan, what am I doing right? What am I not doing right? What do I need to do right? That is it. So normalize mistakes. Failure is a major, major part of life. Let your melancholic child know that. Negative feedback.
So, Coach Animian,
Yes,
we need to wrap up now, no?
Okay.
Yes, we need to wrap up
so
now.
Negative feedback.
Yes.
Okay, that's about it. Negative feedback, again, for your melancholic child, minimize the negative feedback, encourage self-expression. Please, if you don't have affirmation for all your for your other children, for your melancholic child, you need a self-affirmation for your melancholic child. You need self-affirmation that highlights their strengths, their capacities, and all of that. Set realistic expectations for them. Don't let them struggle. Remember, failure is something they don't like. Mistake is something they don't easily survive from. Now, imagine with all of that, you still give them expectations that are too high for them. They are struggling, which means they are going to fail. You give them expectations, they are going to fail. What do you think happens? They are struggling. So in that their struggle, it's affecting their self-esteem. So I'll stop here now so that hello.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Coach Enimem. That was amazing. I mean, it's an hour well spent. Thank you so much. We had a second speaker for tonight, but I have already mentioned to her that she'll come on tomorrow night instead, so that we don't start a new conversation at this time. You get the idea? So Coach Enime has been a huge blessing. Leave me a comment. She needs to hear what you learned from her session. Please start leaving your comment about what you learned. Please leave a comment so that she can see that she wasn't talking to herself, all right? I got a lot. I mean, let me just open my note very quickly. My first daughter is actually melancholic. So she's a high achiever and she has these high expectations on herself. And every time she doesn't meet standards that she set for herself, it's a wahala. It's a wahala for her, you know. And then she's someone that also can dwell on a setback for a while. She's appraising, and then sometimes she go, I let you down. I'm like, no, you didn't, you know. So I'm really getting that feedback about because they're perfectionists, you tend to want to put more on them. And then we need to take note of that. I also learned that that's another similarity they have with the choleric child. The choleric child, because they are forceful, they want to do stuff. So I'm beginning to see certain similarities. I also learned about the sanguine. My second is a sanguine. We call her the social butterfly of the house. But I also see exactly how, because of how frequently she can get into trouble, criticism may be a lot per time, all right? And then I also saw the other thing. I think you mentioned something about achievement in math. I noticed that my sanguine child is exceptional in math, then she hates English. So, I mean, you're just looking at these combinations and we're learning how to harness. Yeah. Joamin said, I learned a lot. It has opened my eyes to take better care of my children. Yes, one of the things we promised was that during the family meeting, you will see how different these children are. They are really different. There's no need to have similar expectations, like you say, oh, because your sister can do this, you too can do this. No, it's not that. So I want to thank every one of you that came out tonight. So tomorrow we are going to start very early. Oh, somebody said, I joined late and it seems she was talking to me. I'm melancholic and still struggle with these failures. Timely reminder for me. This is excellent. So Coach Enima, can you see, it was such a value for us. It was such a huge value for us because we have to parent our children deliberately. Parent the child in front of you, not the one you would like them to be, not your idea of who the child should be. It's like you want to sew. You start with the fabric in front of you. So one of the things about temperament makes you know the fabric in front of you, what it can produce or how you navigate to get the best out of it. I've had a really wonderful time. I wanted to ask for a quick favor if we could start tomorrow at 8:10. So just move it up 20 minutes earlier. I don't want us to keep you past 9:30, 9:45 tomorrow. So if we can start at 8:10, it would really help. So the link to tomorrow's class is the same link you used to come today. So I really look forward to welcoming everyone back tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Parent the child in front of you, not the idea of what you want her to be. Yes. So please, let's start tomorrow at 8:10 so that we'll make the most, because we have 3 speakers coming in tomorrow. This is a solid foundation to put in place. So by the time 3 of us come tomorrow, we'll lay on it. So people asking for replays, I believe I've already sent you a link to the YouTube. So you can watch the replays via YouTube. It's already on YouTube. Please share this with a lot of your friends and family and colleagues and ask them to join in tomorrow. They can still register with the link we shared earlier, just to make sure more and more of us show up tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll start out with parent and daughter's relationship. Anyman has already started setting a tone for it. And so you would understand the session better. Coach Ade is coming to tell us about trauma, parenting trauma and the impact. And then I'll come back and share my framework on deliberately building self-esteem in your daughters. I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow night. Coach Animan, did you see that? We had a lot of fun listening to you today.
Thank you so much, Ma.
It's already on our YouTube channel. Yes, Nena said, where is replay? We've already sent you links to the YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube at the same time. So the replays, they're very, very insightful teaching. Very, very insightful teaching. Thumbs up to you. Thank you so much, Coach Enimian.
Thank you, Ma, for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, always an honor. Always an honor. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, everyone that has stayed in here. At some point, we're 33 of us. I'm happy that we're closing around 27. Thank you so much. And we also had about 27 people watching on YouTube. So that makes it a lot of difference. So we're grateful. So I'm seeing a comment here of interest. I got huge value today. First is knowing my children are of different temperament, phlegmatic, sanguine, and choleric. I learned they all need affirmation and shouldn't be over-criticized. This is it. This is why we do this. This is why we do this. And we're really grateful to Coach Enimen for coming out here to share with us. This was Really valuable to me as well. This was really valuable. I say Auntie Favor all the way from Ibadan. Thank you so much for joining. So see you guys tomorrow. Please, I'm appealing that we come tomorrow starting out at 8:10. That means we're starting 20 minutes earlier tomorrow, all right? So 20 minutes earlier tomorrow. Please come in and let's get started. God bless you all. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, ma.
Good night.
Good night, ma. Bye-bye, ma.
Bye. All right. Yep.